What time is it? Oh, I'm late! Hello everyone, this is Measures Rippo, which is Latin for we're going down the rabbit hole. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a 1972 classic that only 179 people have logged on Letterboxd, based on the Lewis Carroll book of the same name. Now, this movie is one that, like I mentioned, not many people have seen. Most people have seen either the Disney version, or if you're a little freak, I've watched the Tim Burton one. I'm not a little freak, have not watched it, don't plan on watching it, and I am in no way an Alice in Wonderland expert. I've read the books. I've read both Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland. They're both good. I really like them. But I really haven't found a adaptation that has really captured the magic of Alice in Wonderland. And I think the one that I'm talking about today, oh right, yes, this is a musical. And while I really enjoy the score and the music of this, it's actually ticking. And while I enjoy the music, the lyrics they're good. Like they're good. I'm not like a connoisseur of lyrics either. I mean, I enjoyed the Mean Girls musical, and I have Revenge Party on my playlist, so take that with a grain of salt. But the lyrics in this movie are subpar. So I just watched this actually this morning, and I had so many thoughts on it. I was gonna make a video later, but I'm like, I had so many thoughts in it, I was like, I have to make it now. This movie just really understands that Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a dream, and a fever dream at that. I think a lot of people say that the sound and video quality have really brought this movie down for them, but for me, it kind of brings it up, because it really just adds to the like weird fever dream vibe of it, to have everything a bit out of focus, and like the sound and the music to feel kind of like muted and muffled. I just really like it. It might be a mixture of the quality and just like how this movie looks. It's just like some parts like kind of like drag in this movie. Once you get to the mock turtle, it's like you kind of want to be done with the movie, but like I didn't get really bored, because you could just look at the beautifully painted backgrounds, these like real almost like cardboard cutout sets. Like I just loved them. And the costumes, while some of them looked literally straight from the opposite of heaven.
One of them.
Did you enjoy the croquet game?
Well, they certainly don't play croquet the way I remember it.
Cursed. I really think they added to the vibe. Like the rabbit, I mean that's just glorious. And my favorite character in this show has the most horrendous costume, and his name is Bill. I love Bill. I also love Bill in the books. He's the best. He's this little like cockney little lizard that like is basically in like only 2 scenes in the entire book, but oh my gosh, I love Bill. And you know what? Roll the tape. Roll the Bill fan cam.
Nice to be back here on land, but what's me tail doing in the yard?
Sugar, sweet, take a seat. I'ma make a scene, show you I'm a freak. Baby, talk to me, I'ma make your body speak. Only in my dreams, show me what you see in me.
But yeah, the costumes and makeup of this movie are simultaneously super cursed and just the most wonderful things I have ever seen. Like, do you see these Tweedledum and Tweedledee costumes? They're so cute. I want it right now. And her dress, I actually like need her dress. Like it's not a want, it's a need. The way it like floofs, ugh. But also the bookends of this movie are just so full of just like this ethereal beauty that's like really surreal. This movie is bookended by these three sisters and their kind of like, I don't know, like footmen going on a picnic, and you kind of infer that they have like written and illustrated Alice in Wonderland in their universe.
Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank.
And it's just like so full of like, yeah, the only word I really have it is like childhood nostalgia. And they like go down like this beautiful river and they go to this picnic, and like the way that this footman Duckworth like talks and begins like the first paragraph of like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland as these cards are like blown out by like the wind and then like the sky changes. It's just like so full of like this just beauty, like this childhood beauty. And then like the ending, it was so good to be bookended, because if it had just ended, I would have been like, ew, you know, like the beginning was really good, but then the ending was bad because like I was so down by the ending. But just to be bookended by like them like rowing down like the river with the old-fashioned like cast in order of appearance words just going up, it's just so full of like this like just beauty, and I can't even understand it. It's just like an inexpressible like joy and love that just comes out of these bookends. Like they're really like only like 5-minute, like 3-minute scenes, but they're just like so full of what like Lewis Carroll kind of like wanted with his stories, like childhood whimsy and nostalgia for something that you don't even know. But the titular Wonderland was also full of so much like surprisingly just beauty, like these backgrounds and just the trees and like the large mushrooms and flowers. It just looked like a painting, and I was just like enveloped in like this gorgeous world that they had sculpted out of clay and felt. It almost like I just love how it felt. The way that Alice goes from one scene to the other is also one of my favorite parts of these movies, because there's like the scene where she's in like this like liminal space, this closet, and then she starts crying. She starts swimming in her tears, and then by swimming in her tears, it transitions into another scene, but you have like, 30 seconds of her just swimming around in these tears in like a middle space between the two scenes.
Swimming in your own tears would be weird. Never mind, she's enjoying it.
And I just love the middle space in these movies. That's the only way I know how to describe it. The middle space between the two scenes, kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like this middle space is almost where like the chapter breaks would be between like chapter 1 and chapter 2, but we get to see that instead of just skipping straight to like scene 1 to scene 2. There's like this middle space, and it's like, it's wonderful. But I would say that this movie isn't perfect. This movie is a victim of losing steam by the end. It starts like really good and just like immaculate vibes. That's the only, I keep saying vibes, but like really like it's gorgeous. Like she goes through this rabbit hole, she falls down. It's just these beautiful like scene backdrop after backdrop as she goes through all this stuff. And then like you see like the baby turn into the pig, and like this kind of like nostalgic dread falls over you, like a kind of dread that isn't scary because it happened in the past and you're just being reminded of it. It's so cool how like everything feels blanketed in nostalgia. So even the scary moments or the creepy moments are just blanketed in this like love and beauty for what has been past. It's just so cool. It really doesn't feel like a musical, because there isn't just like a lot of like musical number, because like the beginning there's not a lot of musical numbers, and then like then in the middle there's a lot of musical numbers and a lot of these like little like 30-second like I'm Tweedledum blah 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 or whatever. Oh, my arm looks so washed out compared to this arm. Ooh, I'm a ghost. Ooh, But yeah, a lot of these scenes just kind of like go on too long, and you're just watching the Mock Turtle and the Griffin and Alice do like a 5-minute dance, and you're kind of just like, yeah, I can be done.
Okay, Grandpa, let's get you to bed.
Also another thing that my sister noticed, which was really funny, is that some of the shots in this movie, like, don't, like, have the characters as, like, the center. Like, they're bad shots, like, but they're just kept in. And it was just a little infuriating once you noticed it, because you're just like, why didn't they, like, move the camera a little? But some of these shots are, like, really actually good. It just seems like they just hadn't taken enough, like, shots, and they were like, oh, we have to use this one because it's the only shot that has these people talking in it. This film almost feels more like a recorded play rather than like a movie, and maybe that's just because it's a subject of its time, but also, you know, that's just kind of the vibe it gives. So it's like, you excuse Hamilton for having some like editing errors. Angelica has a rose on, doesn't have a rose on, has a rose on like during the entirety of Satisfied, and you don't really care because it's like, it's Hamilton, it's a musical, they obviously don't know like how to edit because they're theater people. That's kind of how I feel toward this movie, where it's like, it's fine, you know, like it's so like the characters and the sets and like the costumes are so good and so like detailed and so real that I'm like, they just recorded a play and they don't know how to like use a moving camera. That's fine. I forgive them. And I also mentioned the big selling point of this version of Alice in Wonderland is that it had a lot of cool you know, like, British actors in it, like Michael Crawford, Peter Sellers, that kind of stuff. Okay, by the way, Michael Crawford plays the Duchess. What did the Letterboxd review say? Drag queen slay? He really is. Like, whoever made the decision to have Michael Crawford play the Duchess, like, good on you, bro. Like, best Duchess I have ever seen. Speaking of that, Alice, this is probably the best Alice I have ever seen. Actually, a lot of people don't really like that. Why is she super old? I read a review that like really put it well into words on IMDb of all things, and it's like, instead of this Alice seeming like a adult actor trying to play a 7-year-old, it just feels like an older Alice has fallen down the rabbit hole. And I really appreciate about this Alice is that she feels like she's enjoying the Wonderland. There's a lot of laughing and a lot of like, oh my goodness, I love being here. Like, she doesn't have a lot of like the worries that book Alice has. She kind of just like, yeah, I'm here, I'm vibing, I'm swimming in my own tears, you know? Like, she's she's having fun in Wonderland, which kind of just adds to like the childlike nostalgia veil over this entire movie. You see a weird movie that's kind of bad, and you just like attach to it, kind of. And this is what has happened for me. Also, this happened. I actually do this a lot with the movies. I got really attached to Space Jam and Pete's Dragon, kind of in the same way, where it's like, oh my gosh, this weird obscure movie. I love it so much. It's going to be mine now. I do have a couple complaints about this movie. And it's with some of the characters in it. Now, actually, I read all the 179 Letterboxd reviews of this movie, and a lot of people noticed that, like, the acting was, like, a little flat. I didn't notice this. I just know that I hated a couple people in it. Wait, no, I actually like this. The rabbit was so savage.
I'm right all the time. Oh. We'll have to burn the house down.
I think I just hated the Cheshire Cat, actually. I hated the Cheshire Cat? No, because I really appreciated the Queen and the King's marriage dynamic in this one. I want what they have. I want to be a crazy woman. A little wet cat man behind me, fixing all of my mistakes that I made without thinking because I was angry. But the only good part about the Mock Turtle is that in the scene, because I was bored, I looked up what is Mock Turtle made of, and it was beef, and I was like, okay, that's why the Mock Turtle costume is literally a cow with a shell on it. That's cool. But I really did enjoy this movie. Kind of movies that were made in the 60s and 70s when like color got introduced and they had all of these like painted backgrounds and all of these like really crazy costumes and this like kooky, costumey, kind of can see the seams almost movies, which I absolutely love. And even though this Alice in Wonderland kind of drags, is very weird. Like, I know Alice in Wonderland is supposed to be weird, but like, It's really weird. It's also super charming, which I think a lot of Alice in Wonderland movies, adaptations, like, don't have. Like, they need to have, like, that charm, really. Like, that kind of scrappy, kind of, like, awkward charm. Also, this movie has the sass that Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland has. Because, like, forget how sassy everybody is until you reread the book and, like, you realize that everybody is as savage as all get out, especially the White Rabbit, and this adaptation understood that. Just because this movie looks so good, I feel like I could just push away and forget about any criticism just because I want to look at the pretty backgrounds and look at the pretty costumes and look at the pretty people. I can push away a lot of criticisms if I like how a movie looks or I like how a movie makes me feel. The script of this is fine. The acting in this is fine. The plot in this is kind of incomprehensible, but oh my gosh. The feel, the vibes, the look of this movie is what keeps me coming back over and over to this movie. Just because the feeling that this movie gives me, that the opening and the ending of this movie give me, is a feeling that I don't think I can feel from any other movie but this version.